name's Skyriver, and I'm from Lopez Island, Washington. It's a small island in the San Juan Islands. I was born in a house with no running water or electricity, and my mom pretty much didn't allow TV in the house, so it was a lot of just playing out in the woods and being on the water as a young kid. As a young boy and all throughout my life, I've made trips up to the outside of Vancouver Island. So this is a direct inspiration of my upbringing, the salmon, and also an icon of the Pacific Northwest and a staple of the native people of this area. My other work as well is, from the north, Alaska down to here, whales and fish and stuff. As far as the dynamicism of the work, I think that's probably one of the hardest things is proportion and getting everything to look in the right place. That's one hard aspect, but the other, and I think one of the more difficult things about making something is giving it a dynamic flow and making it look alive and giving it motion when it's a static object. So that's something I'm still striving towards, and I feel like this is a more recent piece. I feel like I'm getting better at that, but it's always something I'm trying to put into the work, is breathing a little life into it and making it look as though it has motion. I like to work from a reference pretty much always. A lot of these books are really great examples of not only the coloration and the form, but also the movement of the creatures that are being depicted in glass. So it helps me not only catch the form and color, but also the mannerisms and how the creatures move in their environments. Don't make the pattern too organized or anything. The coloring of the bubble is a big part of what goes into it. So it's been a long time as far as the process of figuring out which colors go where and what works well together. Some things I try to be a little more whimsical with and do a looser interpretation. So I've definitely spent a lot of time developing which colors work well together. I have a lot of ideas. That's definitely something I don't have any shortage of. I guess I want to keep exploring similar forms, but there's other things that I haven't tried yet that I definitely want to delve into as well. I would love to express my gratitude to the museum and also to this amazing crew that the museum offers and that I've been able to assemble as well. Couldn't do any of this on my own.
We love having him here, and we hope that he will be back many, many more times. And so I'm looking at Raven's bio here, and it says he started blowing glass in high school, and his mentor was Lark Dalton, who taught him how to build glass blowing equipment and trained him in the traditional Venetian technique. In 2003, Raven was invited to join the William Morris team. Pause here. Have you all been to the Field Notes exhibition? If you haven't, please do so, because you can see William Morris's work and Raven's work in there. So it's really a wonderful, you can see the lineage going through. He worked on Billy Morris's team until his retirement in 2007. And the experience of working with such a talented group of artists galvanized his decision to follow glass sculpture as a profession. And just as an aside, the last time Billy Morris was here was in 2006, well, on the floor. he's visited since, but we have footage of that event as well. Raven has shown his work nationally and has been featured in international group shows. His focus in the area of sculpture and the depiction of marine life, inspired by his island upbringing and informed by the creatures that inhabit that fragile ecosystem. And it is such a pleasure to have you here again, and thank you for your work, and thank you for working to preserve our marine life.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you to the museum for being such gracious hosts. For those of you who just saw the turtle demo, it's I think it's pretty evident that it takes a lot of people to put something like that together. So many talented artists here on the floor making that piece come together pretty seamlessly. So a big thank you and so much gratitude to everyone down here helping out and really pushing the limits of what we can do with hot sculpting. So it's pretty incredible to have this team and to have this space. There's only a few places in the world where you have access to equipment large enough to make a piece of that scale. And so I feel super fortunate to be here and be able to push myself and push my team to try something challenging and difficult to execute. And when it comes together like that, it feels so good, because it's all that work and all that attention comes to that one point where you break it off the pipe, and it's really gratifying feeling to get to that point. So so a little bit about me, a little bit of context. I know there was they just showed an artist video that was filmed a long time ago, but mostly it holds up. I grew up on Lopez Island in the San Juan Islands. I was born and raised there, and so yeah, just a connection to nature and the surrounding area. We always go up to the outside of Vancouver Island on kind of semi-annual family vacations, and sometimes you see sea otters like this. Sometimes you see lots of sea otters. And you see whales, and you see sea lions, and catch fish, and all these things kind of formed who I am and how I look at the world. And yeah, so we're just surrounded by so much natural beauty, and I really want to pay attention and observe that and take that and interpret it and try to put it into some sort of form that other people can look at and relate to, and kind of relate to their own experiences in the natural world. This is kind of just to give you the feeling of the swell. Sometimes you can't see each other because the waves, you're up and they're down. But yeah, I'm not the best at vacationing. I kind of like to keep my hands busy. So even when we go places, sometimes I build things. I made this boat. It was like a dugout canoe that I carved out and then put outriggers on. And because I'm like to get teamwork going, I enlisted a bunch of people that were camping out with us, and so it kind of became a group project. But yeah, so just having fun on the beach. And yeah, first I burnt out the middle of the log, and then dug it out with carving tools, and then everything on the beach was found, and the sail was found. It was like an old super sack or something. It says single use only, so it was very appropriate because I only used the boat once. So some fish. I'm really into just. I'm not a huge fisherman, but I love catching fish, and we love cooking fish, and sometimes not cooking fish. But in the end, it's all good to eat. And you know, I grew up in a small community that has a really strong sense of community. So coming to the mainland and working on the mainland and getting into glass, it was kind of like a second community that I was able to join into, because we all work together, and we all like go to each other's weddings and celebrate births and go to funerals of our friends, and so it's really nice to have that friendship and that kinship, something that the glass world provides. And this is my nephew starting a fire with a bow drill. Some of our beach activities. I'm gonna do this next week just to light the solstice fire. Some of the things you see on your way: dead sea lion, raven pecking it apart. That thing smelled so bad. Here's the maiden and final voyage of the sea splinter. So yeah, just those are the things that fill my cup and that give me inspiration for my work. I like to depict the natural world. I like to depict native species to this area, and that's a lot is just derived from my upbringing and what I consider to be fun. So I want to share that with people. So this is a really special place, Pilchuck Glass School. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but it's up in Stanwood, Washington. When I first got into glass, I was in high school, and I did an alternative high school program, and I started working with Lark Dalton and Corey Height, and they have a glass shop on Lopez Island. And you know, they encouraged me to get out and about, and if you're interested in glass, this is a great place to grow up, because there's so many studios and there's so much talent and so many people to learn from. So I started coming down here to the museum when it first opened, and I would open doors for these guys and help out wherever I could, sweep up. And you know, you can't say enough about a good work ethic. So that just kind of got my foot in the door a lot of places, and yeah, through that process, I met Karen Willenbrink Johnson, and she's an incredible sculptor. She was just here doing a kids design program a couple weekends ago, I think, yeah, Thanksgiving. And so she taught me an incredible amount, and I worked with her and her husband, Jason Johnson, pretty much 7 days a week at Pilchuck. So I helped her on her work, and then I helped her when she was working for William Morris, because she would gaff components for William Morris's work, and then we would help them put it together. And I started working up there in 2003, which, you know, I always was the youngest all the time, but now that makes me feel old when I say 2003. But yeah, I met my wife, Kelly Odell, up there. She started working on the William Morris team that same year, so we met up there, and kind of the rest is history. Now we have a 15-year-old boy. So yeah, that was my introduction. I think everyone kind of starts with glass blowing as kind of like a traditional Venetian technique. You roll up cane, you make a twisty thing, and it's beautiful, and that's kind of how you get your muscle memory, you get your chops, you learn how to blow glass. That's where most people start, is trying to make a bubble and then trying to make a cup, and that's how I started too. But when I started working for Karen, I was introduced to glass sculpting. So this is one of the first things I tried. It's called Leftovers. You can see the inspiration from the former photos that I showed. But yeah, so I'm kind of like a golden retriever. I'm really food motivated, so a lot of the things kind of have to do with food, where food comes from, or you know, also have Tlingit heritage, so food sovereignty, sustainability, being able to do subsistence harvest of the animals that we find here has a lot of importance. So these are some of the first sculptures I did after practicing a bit, but yeah, the things that I was interested in. This piece, I want to say it's from like 2005 or 6, so I just kind of did another iteration of that is down here on the table, the jumbo shrimp. That was fun. And yeah, and again, just not to be redundant, but just like working in glass has taught me so much, not just about the medium and the technique, but just about teamwork and about friendship, and it's really opened up the world. So this is Pilchuck Glass School, working with Martin Yaneski and Max Jacquard and Kelly Odell and a whole grip of other people. And this is kind of not so uncommon. You're always working as a team, so this is kind of like the water cooler talk. You all get around the pipe cooler and you say, hey, let's figure this out. So this is the first time I tried a large sea turtle, and this is at the Corning Museum of Glass in New York. And we did it for a demonstration for the Glass Art Society conference in front of, I don't know, 500 people. It was a little nerve-wracking. But yeah, we're not wealthy in a monetary sense, but we are very rich in so many other ways. And glass has opened up the world to us, and we've got to travel all over the world and teach. And this is in Denmark. Kelly and I taught at Bornholm. This is at IGS in just outside of Prague in the Czech Republic, in a town called Nový Bor. It's a really cool place. Tons of people come together, and so the glass community is not just limited to the Seattle area, but it's international, and it's global, and yet it's still kind of small. And so you travel all over the world, and sometimes you go to France and you meet people that you know from Tacoma, and we got to go to Monaco and see like the aquarium and the museum there, and get to see all sorts of things that inspire us and are odd. And we even met Hello Kitty out there in Japan. And all the things you get to do and get to see, and all the people you get to meet, that's what I really love. And the process of glass is just so spellbinding. So you always have something you can learn, So there's a theme here. I guess this is a smaller turtle we made in Nijima, Japan. They have a much smaller shop, so but still took a long time to make all the details and all that. The Japanese students are very attentive. And sometimes we still find our favorite foods when we go out there in the world. It's just, there it is, raw fish. I mean, it's not that hard. And so, yeah, my wife, Kelly Odell, she makes beautiful artwork as well, and she makes these spiral shell forms, and it's like, well, she could tell you more about it, but it's kind of dealing with permanence or impermanence and fossil records, what we consider to be a long or a short time. These are really old photos, so her work's changed some since then. But yeah, we have a lot of influence on each other because we share a studio. We both work in the same space, so we see each other's colors and our forms, and we work together all the time, whether we're helping each other with our own work or sometimes we work collaboratively. So this is a collaborative, like Nautilus. I kind of did the fleshy tentacle parts, and you can see the similarity in that spiral shell form of what Kelly does. So sometimes we get to come together and collaborate. And collaboration's really a cool thing because it kind of, as an artist, I'm very like controlling of what I'm trying to make and how I'm trying to make it and what I want it to look like. And when you collaborate, you have to relinquish some of that. And it's difficult, but it also makes it so that you end up producing something that you would never make on your own, because your mind doesn't work that way. People's minds work differently. So I just find that process really, really intriguing and really fulfilling. This is a collaborative piece that Preston Singletary and I did here at the Museum of Glass for a Glass Art Society conference demonstration. What year was that? I don't remember. It was like 4 years ago, something. Yeah, it was not too long ago. So you can see both Preston and my influence on the end product. But Preston also is Tlingit, and he's really perfected this form line design artwork that he does. And so I feel like sometimes collaborations look like, oh, I'm going to stick my thing on your thing and we're going to call it a collaboration. But I feel like the work that we've been doing is really kind of this beautiful marriage of my artistic style and his artistic style. And so I've really enjoyed working with him and just doing that work together, because he is so magnanimous and so easy to work with, and just a great person all around. And so I'm just going to shoot through a few shots of what we've been doing. So you can see the faces and the different motifs that are in the glass, and there's mother and calf humpback whale. And it also offers me a chance to play with color more than I would, like on my own work. I often go for a more realistic coloration, but this get to explore other options. And Kelly was actually taking these photos, so come out really nice. So yeah, a bowhead whale. Yeah, and the collaborative process is just something that, takes you out of your own mind and kind of gets you thinking in a different way too. So then when you go back to your own work, it becomes something fresh, and you have a new kind of approach. This is a collaboration with Preston as well, but also my dear friend and uncle, Joe David. He did this Pukmas design. Pukmas is he's like a drowned spirit. It's kind of spooky, wild man. Yeah, so, and yeah, I just, as far as my own work goes, I'm just really curious about the natural world. I want to observe it closely and then try to depict it as best I can. And sometimes I strive for hyperrealism, but not always. And what I really want to do is look at the form and the proportions and try to get those to come together, because when you get those two things together, there could be a few little gaps in there, but your mind makes up the rest if you're as the observer. So it's just something that is fun to try to do. And of course, I was talking about Karen. She's an amazing colorist, so I learned so much about color application from her, and that kind of gave me a foundation to jump forward and just start using different colors in different ways. And I think as a glass artist, you could ask any of the people here that were down here on the floor, you're always like trying to figure out new techniques or figure out how you could change what you do, or how you could do it better, or how you could make it look, more interesting. Or so we made a piece like this yesterday, mahi mahi. So I don't know if any of you have ever eaten them, but they are delicious. They make really great fish tacos, but they're also an extremely beautiful fish, and they just shimmer and shift color. So I used a dichroic glass to give it that kind of lively looking, as if it's swimming through the water. So if you walk past this piece, it has like this color shift, and it just glitters. And the salmon is one of my favorite pieces to make. It's one of the most difficult pieces to make. It doesn't look like much, because it's just this one muscle. But oftentimes that subtle form is the hardest form to make, just because it's what makes it a king salmon, what makes it a salmon and not a trout, you know. And so you're always trying to look for these subtle differences. And the salmon also speaks to me just because of the fact that it's the lifeblood of the native people all up and down the coast, and it's also, you know, what the southern resident killer whales eat, this king salmon. And you know, the king salmon's endangered, and so therefore is the southern resident killer whale. And so it's a really iconic and important species, but no more important than any other species. But it's something that has a lot of cultural significance. And here I'm trying to just, you know, focus on form. I want to get the fluid motion of something swimming in the water. But I also am trying form, proportion, but then I can play with the colors a bit and try something a little bit different. Just have fun with it. We're gonna make one of these after lunch. This is a horny toad. These are fun pieces. I really enjoy the reptiles. They're super different and fun, and you get just an opportunity to play with texture and color, and I really enjoy the earth tones and kind of playing with that. So it's just a fun form study. And again, as a glass nerd, it's always like, oh, how do I get that color? How do I get that texture? What do I do to kind of portray this in a believable way? So those are really fun. These are some of my favorite pieces, the little elephant seals. These are little guys. They're kind of like action figures. You can like pose them together. But we made a little bit bigger one down here. It's also on the table. So it's kind of fun. This will end up being sandblasted, so it'll contrast too, so you see the shiny eyes, or I leave that shiny by putting like glue on the eyes and then sandblast the rest and then finish it with an oil. So yeah, so we have a few more photos. Just gonna fire through just different pieces. This is in the show here in Field Notes. I don't know if any of you saw it, but it's in the case with the salmon prickle. And done a few like big game fish, kind of along with the mahi-mahi. And octopus, super cool. I mean, I love a good cephalopod, so I like the fluid, kind of squishy feel. And again, they're such cool animals. They're intelligent. The squid, delicious as well. No fault of their own. Thresher shark. And so yeah, mostly I'm a glass artist, but I don't limit myself completely to glass. Sometimes I do wood carving. This is a salmon I carved out of red cedar. My father had a knife making business for about almost 50 years, and he makes traditional carving tools for like Northwest Coast carving. I mean, you can use them for any kind of carving, but they're kind of adzes and crooked knives and stuff made for carving totem poles or masks. So I have a nice set of tools, and I learned how to carve when I was a little kid. Yeah, and there's no shortage of inspiration. I mean, there's so many different life forms and different varied things, and all their physical attributes and adaptations to survive in the world that fit the niche that they're in. It's incredible. They kept the secret of the narwhal for a long time because they were trying to sell the tusks as unicorn horns, And just sometimes people still don't know that narwhals are a thing. And you just say, what, that exists? Oh yeah, it's a real thing. So hopefully when this piece we just made comes out of the oven, it'll look something like this. I gotta grind that big clear patch off the belly, of course, and then it'll end up getting sandblasted, and I'll make a stand for it. And so this will kind of be a similar finished product, what you see. And glass is just beautiful. I mean, you don't have to do a lot to it, and the optics and the shape of it just does so much on its own. So really love playing with that. The light play, the optics of the light coming through the glass. This is a great white shark I made quite some time ago. We made another one down here for the first time in a long time. I think, I don't know how long it's been since I made a great white shark, but probably like 15 years or something. And the piece we made down here came out really nice, I think. It's still in the oven, so we'll see how it looks, but I'm excited to see it. And we made it with the mouth more kind of agape, like it's attacking. So I'm excited. I'm gonna end up doing the same as I did here and sharpen some teeth out of glass and glue them in, because if I put the teeth in there hot, they would end up just rounding over and they would look like he had like horse teeth. So not quite the effect we're going for. I just threw this shot in there for a sense of scale. I think it was in the slides that they were showing here earlier too. Something a little more fantastic. Yeah, so again, just playing with texture, form, trying to make that rubbery kind of skin feel, and blubbery walrus. And so that's what I do. Now, one of the things that's made it easier to do that is this giant project that my wife Kelly and I undertook of building our own studio, moving back to Lopez Island and building a studio there. So here you see the studio under construction, and you can see the glass furnace is right there in its spot where it still sits. It was on wheels, so we were able to build the shop around it. And we just wheel it around and wheel the scaffolding around. I think these might be a little out of order. Here's my brother-in-law Jaime helped us build it. So it was Kelly and my brother-in-law Jaime, who's a carpenter. So he had the building knowledge, and myself. We built the whole shop. So this is putting the steel I-beams that carry the roof on. And this is us working in the studio. This is our friend Zacabella from down here. He was helping us out, and Reagan. They were up there helping us out, and Zach's dad, Mike, came and took some photos up there of us working in the studio. So we built that about 5 years ago. We started in, 2019, started building it. And so a little over 5 years ago, but we got it all finished probably about 5 years ago, and we've been working there since. And it's an amazing space. We love it so much, and we can do pretty much anything there, except for the work we've been making here this week, because the scale is is not. We don't have a shop. Our shop is not quite as big as this one, and we don't have quite as much help up there as we do down here. So. Yeah, but you don't have to look far for inspiration. This is just outside of the shop. We had some little hummingbirds, built a nest, so they're just hanging out there. I got to watch them raise their babies. These are the babies. They're just learning to fly, so they stand on the edge of the nest and flap their wings. We couldn't really photograph them, but our friend Russell Johnson came up, and he had a big lens, and he was able to shoot them. So he sent us these photos. And we did this project up there with a really dear friend, Martin Yaneski, who's an incredible glass sculptor, Preston Singletary. I don't know if any of you guys know that guy, Charlie Perriott. He helped start this place, and he hired Gabe and Ben and Alex Stisser, who's no longer here, but yeah, he's an influential person in the glass world. My uncle Joe David, Martin Yaneski, and then you guys probably know that guy Preston if you know glass. There's a good friend John who came with Martin to help, and then there's Kelly, and that's me, and that's Obi, that's our dog. But that was a really, really fun project where they came up and we did collaborative work together. Martin and Preston and Kelly and I and Joe. So we're all part of the design and kind of completion of a bunch of collaborative work. And then we went from there to Pilchuck and did more of that. And we're gonna come here in June as a collaborative group, and we're gonna have the shop for 2 weeks. We're gonna be making stuff down here together. So I think that's the second half of June we'll be here. Preston and Martin and Kelly and myself and a host of other people helping us out and making stuff happen. So anyways, these are a couple cheesy photos that Mike took of us, but we love them because it shows us in our studio. And yeah, we're so happy to be living back on Lopez and working and living there as a family. And who is that little kid? He was so tiny. Yeah, and that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shout them out. Yeah. So these pieces I will take home. Everything that we make has a punti on it, so that's that clear glass bridge. Ponte is like Italian for bridge, so Ponte Vecchio is the old bridge. So that has to be ground off in the cold shop. So I'm gonna grind that away, and then we'll make a stand for it. So I have to fabricate a metal stand, and then we'll photograph it, and then we'll pack it, and then hopefully it'll go to a gallery or a museum. So I have a museum show at the San Juan Island Museum on San Juan Island, Friday Harbor, and this summer, so some of the work might be going there. And then as artists, we're always looking for places to place our work. We work with several different galleries around the country, and a couple international galleries, and so we don't always have, they're not necessarily selling everything we send them, but it's also nice to move that work around and send them fresh work. So we're always trying to keep that ball rolling by sending work out and putting it out there for the world to see. So and hopefully people fall in love with it and buy it, and then we get to eat. Yeah.
So I noticed everybody checking out the annealer before you put the turtle in there to get the padding right. Is that something you, even before you start, you think, okay, I've got to put this someplace now. How is it going to look in the annealer? So we set that set up even
Yeah.
before you start working.
Yeah, so the question was about how we placed it in the annealer and what we're thinking about when we do that. So yeah, we're always trying to figure out how it's going to set in there, and especially with the work that I'm making has all these fins sticking off of it, so you don't really want to set it down and have it resting on one of the fins. It could make the fin move closer to the body, and it could make it not look good, or it could break the fin off if all the body pressure is on that relatively fragile point. So we're always thinking about how it's going to go away. We kind of spent extra special long time trying to figure out how that piece was going to go away, because we've made a couple of them down here before and had them crack in the annealing process. So we're trying to think about a way to put it in the annealer in such a way that it will have air circulation all around it and not have too much contact on the belly or on any one point where it's going to be insulated from cooling down evenly. So the whole idea of the annealing process is that you're going to cool everything down evenly. So you want the center of the sea turtle, the middle of it, to be the same temperature as the tip of the flipper at the very outside before it cools more. So you want everything even, and then you're taking stress out of the glass. If it's uneven and you start cooling it down, you're putting stress into the glass, so that's where it can crack in the annealing process. So there's very technical aspects to glass blowing that we could talk about for a long time if you want. But yeah. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you guys so much for sticking around, and yeah, appreciate it.